If you have ED, you might need to work on your mental game. When you're aroused, your brain releases dopamine.
Yo, what's good with it? What's good with it? You know what time it is. It's Live Talk Low every Wednesday night, same time and place, unless I say otherwise. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you for tapping in. So, tonight, I'll be talking about J. Cole's new album called The Fallout. If you haven't heard the album, go listen to it. It's a great album. I think it's super dope. And as you can see, that's the topic for tonight. J. Cole's new album. Is he playing it safe or is he falling off? That's the question today. And if you're in the comments and you're just joining in and tapping in, I was playing my two recent singles that I dropped last month on the 30th, on the same day, on January 30th last month. Redemption 2026 was the first one. That's more of a motivational type feel song, instrumental song. And Spooky, Synthetic was more of a horror movie, like it's a chase scene from your favorite horror movie. If you're into that spooky stuff, you might like Spooky Synthetic. It's more dark, more energetic. So, I'm asking the question about J. Cole. You have playing it safe or falling off? We about to get into it. And let's see, anybody in the chat? I want to know what's your opinion. What's your honest opinion on the fallout? Some people don't like it. People get mixed views, but it's been getting a lot of praise. And as you know, J. Cole has been taking a tour in his Honda Civic, driving around selling CDs out his trunk for $1. He pulled up to Atlanta. I wish I could have caught him though, but he pulled up to the AUC, so he was at Morehouse, and I think he was at Morris Brown or Clark Atlanta. I think he was up there at HBCUs passing out CDs. And I think he's in Virginia now, so he's driving all over the United States, taking a tour, touring the Civic tour, dropping off albums. I think that's super dope. And this is a guy that don't have to do that. Doesn't have to do any promotion because he has a cult-like following, has a crazy fan base. Because that dude in the following, he got all those people to turn up and show out and buy those CDs. And, that goes to show you just the power of marketing. He's a genius. Look, Russell did the same thing, but, if he took it to another level and somebody like J. Cole, like a A-list celebrity, somebody that don't have to do that, people going to scream his music regardless. As soon as people hear J. Cole got a new album out, or everybody running to listen to the album, people still buy CDs now, and he's selling them out his trunk. So that's dope, and it shows that he's a people person and he's willing to get out personal with his fans. He's setting the bar right now. I don't know a lot of people paying attention, but yeah, he's setting the bar right now. So bar set high. They can really set the bar high. The Russell did it too. But this guy's going around driving the Civic, taking a truck tour. Selling the CD trunk tour. Driving around selling the CDs, getting personal with people, getting personal with his fans. Where his fans will come up to him, get the CD signed, and just selling them for $1. So it just shows you he's a people person, and it just show you how down to earth he really is. I'm an artist can say that they done something like that. A lot of times you might get lucky, you can get to an artist, or you even get a chance to talk to him. But yet along he is coming in the heart of the city or going places where a whole bunch of people at, pulling up the HBCUs where our culture is at, and he's out here passing out CDs and out CDs, just selling them for $1 and getting people autographs, taking pictures with people, letting people hang out with people and listen to the album with people, just meeting people like he was one of us. That's dope. So I'm gonna get into the topic today. And if you can look at the pin comment that I put in the chat, or I don't know if you're watching on YouTube or Twitch, or you could join me on the live. You just click that link. I got a pin in the chat. Just scroll up to the top. It should be pinned to the top of the chat, and you can click that link and you can join me on the live to share your thoughts. So I'm about to get into it. So today we're talking J. Cole. The new J. Cole album doesn't just drop, it starts a debate. Definitely starts a debate. Some people are saying this is a grow. Some are saying it feels safe, and some are even asking if Cole is starting to plateau. So today we're breaking this down the right way. No glazing, no hate, just real hip hop conversation. Now, if anybody wants to join in on the chat and comment, let me know. Now the question is, J. Cole evolving or he's selling a coffin? Let's get into it. I'll let y'all think of that. I'm gonna start it here. Before I even press play, my expectations were high because it's cold. And when I finished the first listen, my immediate reaction was, I'm like, man, this album dope. Ain't no skips. He going hard. J. Cole rapping like the Renters do. Very reflective, calm, with presence and everything. Now I would like to know what's you guys' first reaction of the album. Like what was you guys' first reaction? I love to hear that. What was you guys' first reaction on the album, and what did you think? You know, as I said, when I first heard it, just listening in the first couple of songs in, I'm like, oh shoot, this is some of Cole's best work right here. Cole going back to the old J. Cole, you know, J. Cole coming with it. Coming with it, man. He rapping like the British dude. He rapping his ass off. I'm like, damn, he going crazy. Start to finish. And I'm like, man, I'm loving it. And it's been a while since I heard an album like this in a while, you know. There's been some good albums out, but you know, Cole set the bar high, pretty high. So if any artist putting out an album, you know, it's gonna be compared to that. So you better be prepared. It's gonna be prepared to the fall off. And he's coming with it. He's coming with it. Track after track, track after track. And I felt like this album, you know, this album is like a love letter to the fans. You know, it's a love letter to the fans. It's not something that it's not an album that you a lot of people complain about and saying, oh, it was no club records or no club anthems. I'm like, this is a love letter. If you're a hip hop fan, you're gonna love this album. You're just gonna put that out there. If you're a real hip hop fan like I am, you're gonna love this album. You're gonna enjoy every moment of it. And that could be against anybody, but you know, if this album won't for you, you're probably not a person who likes intellectual things, or you don't care too much for that, or you don't care too much for that when you listen to music. Not to say you're not an intellectual person outside of when it comes to just vibing the music, but it's really for people that are good people and that like to write, they like to read books and are intellectual, and that's what I seen with this album. And I feel like it was a classic Cole album. I mean, this is a classic, you know. And I gave it a couple of listens after the first listen. Then I heard it a second time, heard it a third time, heard it a fourth time. So I heard this album at least 5 times. I probably hear it some more times too, and probably come back later on and come with another perspective of it. But from my understanding, from listening to the album from my first listen, this album was like a love letter to hip hop and a love letter to his real fans, his day one fans. You know, people that been listening to Cole like on the mixtapes or before his first album came out, or remember him from the guest appearances from A Star Is Born, on Jay Z's Blueprint 3, or Beautiful Bliss, Wale's Attention Deficit, where he had some very memorable verses. And Beautiful Bliss is like when I really became a fan. That made me become a fan. Like, damn, J. Cole can spit. Remember, I never forget the line that he said, like those socks be on your heels. I'm like, yo, this dude's coming in. The way he came in so hard, I'm like, man, shoot, his verse was hard. I'm like, it came in perfectly. I'm like, every bar from there, bar for bar, he just great bar for bar, punchlines, metaphors, crazy. I'm like, who this cat? Then find out this cat from the South, he from North Carolina, from Fairfield, North Carolina. You know, shout out my uncle Carl, my cousins out there in Fayetteville. You know, I got an uncle that live in Fayetteville. He lives out in Fayetteville. Shout out to him. I'm like, man, this dude is dope. I mean, shoot, he putting it on. You know, he's proving, he's another reason proving that Sal got some lyricists. Man. I mean, he spitting bars like crazy. But you know, nevertheless, let's get into the sound of the album. Cole has always leaned toward minimal, soulful, introspective production, but on this project, I do kind of got to feel like he did experiment enough, or was he in his comfort zone? You know, some might say, "Oh, did he experiment enough?" I won't say necessarily experiment enough, but I think he was in his comfort zone, but you know, just turn it up a notch, you know, with a little more twist. And to me, he really showed how much of a student of the game he is too. You know, to be a great artist, you know, great artists are also student of the game because I don't know if you are anybody depends on what age group you're from or what area you grew up in hip hop. You might notice a lot of the songs he's making references to. You know, he did a song with Boosie, made a reference to Boosie's song. We'll set this bitch off. He also made a reference to Ludacris, "What's Your Fantasy" in the song. He's like, yeah. Yeah, yeah. You know, hear that Ti, get rid of Ti, DMX. You know, I'm gonna get into that too. You know, I love the references that he's doing. Outkast, Wu Tang, Nas. He's paying homage to a lot of the artists that I grew up listening to as well. So that right there won me over right there, and probably won a lot of other hip hop fans over too as well. And if you listen to those type of artists, you'll notice the references that he made because you can hear it. You know, he'll take the hook and flip it, put his own little twist to it, which I thought was dope. You know, it's always dope to see an artist that's good at his caliber that can take his influences and use it and make his own little twist to it to pay homage to him. I think that's dope. That's like one of the best parts of the album. You know, it's almost like I'm back in the early 2000s again. You know, getting that nostalgia feel. You know, he definitely gave the nostalgia feel to those of us that are real hip hop fans and that are really fans of music that grew up listening to that type of music. It's like I feel like I'm back in high school, middle school again, and listen to music for like the first time. Like I'm getting that feeling back again. Like when I first heard them songs, like damn, this shit hard. You know, and I think I think that won a lot of people over. I think that's like one of the best parts of that album, and it's one of the better parts of it. It's a lot different. You know, a lot of times people want to spit the trap sound. You know, just all heavy on the hi hats. You know, heavy on the bass and all that. But he didn't do that. You know, he really put thought into it. You could tell he put some hard work and time to it. And it's like his first double disc album. You know, he went double disc with it. So it's like, yo, it says the fall off, or was it really the fall off, or was it really just him evolving? You know, he has the same sounds, but it was a little different. You know, and the way he brought everything out is like, Cole spent his best work out here. He put in that pen in, and he always had a decent pen game. He always had a nice pen game. You know, it's not like his pen game ever fell off, but it's like he took it to another level. You know, we thought the albums was good. We thought maybe KOD was good or Forest Hills Drive. He took it to another level. And I'm doing a couple more listens, and I want to say, The Fall Off is his best album. And it's a rumor going out that this might be his last studio album, might be his final studio album. I really hope not, but man, you could tell he put his blood, sweat, and tears into this project and the sound. And if you grew up listening to that type of music, listen to Petey Pablo, you had him on the song Old Dog, had Erica Badu. You grew up listening to those artists, like I have, then you'll appreciate this album, man. And I say it again, I think this album was a love letter to his true fans and a love letter to real hip hop fans who really like the music, who grew up in the late 90s and early 2000s, was coming up in high school, listening to Ludacris, T.I., DMX, Petey Pablo, Wu Tang. You listen to those artists growing up. And Nas, you like this album because it's a love letter to you. Lyrically, we already know Cole is always going to rap, and that's not an issue. But what stood out to me on this album was the maturity and the reflection. It felt like he was going back to like his roots. He really went back to his roots. I felt like with this album, it's almost like he's hungry again for some reason. Like he's hungry again. It's almost like he hasn't lost that hunger. It feels like he went back to his roots when he was trying to get on. He's like, man, I'm trying to get on. So, I got to rap my ass off. And like he went back to that, like the winners do. I got to spit my ass off. I got to give the hardest punchlines, the hardest dope metaphors, the hardest double entendres that they ever heard. And you can hear it. He really went back to his roots with that, and it evolved. It's like it's the sound that we can expect from J. Cole, but it evolved. It evolved. It's not. It's like you mix the traditional hip hop with the new sound, but it's still got that traditional feel. But it's dope. It's vibe. It's not too old school, or it's not too boring, or not too cut and dry. It's like, it's just as perfect. And, you can still feel it. And it's almost like you can probably play these records in the club. This record still to be played in the club without actually being a club album. But just got that feel. I'm sitting there riding in the car. I feel like I'm in the club. Bouncing to it, and he's spitting words with substance and all that. He got songs with substance and stuff, and it's like a club. It's like a club, and it's like banging. It's not a club banging album, but it's like it is in a way. It kind of is because it's like it felt like it. Every song hitting. I'm like, I ain't skip a track. You can play it straight through, and I'm gonna listen to it again straight through to see if I get another perspective. And I also noticed that it was a little more, maybe a little less aggression from him. You know, in a couple of songs, he wrote a lot about love songs. I think that's dope. And the way he talked about it, he really dealt with it before, and then he shows vulnerability. I think that's missing from the game right now. He's being very vulnerable in his album, and especially when he was talking about his wife in the song called Life Sentence, which I'm going to get into later on, which I think is a very dope song. To me, that's my favorite song off the whole album. I ain't gonna say it loud. Like Life Sentence, that's my favorite song on the album, and I'm gonna tell you why. Why I like that. And it feels like a grown man rap. And so one might ask, does grown man rap automatically means less hunger? Not in my opinion. I don't. I think grown man rap means more hunger, but you're on your grown man shit, so you don't rap about the same thing you used to rap about maybe 10, 20 years ago. You're on your grown man shit. J. Cole is like what, almost 40 years old, or is he 40? He probably is 41 years old. I think he is a couple years older than me. I'll be 38 at the end of May, so I think he's 2 years older than me. So he goes 41 years old and still got people bumping. You got people our age, got the OGs bumping, and you got the young kids bumping. The young kids that love the intellectual stuff, that love the real hip hop, they're bumping it, and they're loving it too. Who are Cole fans? It's almost like he said in a song a couple years ago, Middle Child. He's like, I'm little bro and big bro at once. So I'm stuck between two generations. So that's what we are. But us millennials, we like little bro and we big bro at once. Us millennials. So we the future. And even though Gen Z behind us is actually the future. Like we still right there. We're older, but we're not necessarily really old. We're really not that old. You got to realize that we're seeing a lot in our short time of life. Uh, most probably oldest millennial probably in their early 40s. You know, or just getting ready to turn 40. We're not even 50. That's the crazy part. And J. Cole is not even 50. So it's crazy that we might be older, but we're still quite young ourselves. We're still experiencing life, and we're still seen a lot or experienced a lot or learned a lot. And none of us are 50 years old yet, or even close to 50. We still look young, even though we're like in our late 30s and or in our early 30s, we still look young, none of us is really even close to 50 when we're seeing things. So, I think this really was for us, to show that, hey, even at our age, we still can have fun, life ain't too late, ain't too late to follow your dreams, ain't too late to blow up, ain't too late to glow up, and, ain't late to blow up and get going to get on your shit, you ain't never too late to follow your dreams. That's what this album did, inspire people to go out there and, hey, you ain't too young to have fun, you ain't too old to have fun, just be a grown man about it. And now that we have that, I think it's great that he put this out because now that we have that, now hip hop is finally embracing older artists. And to be honest with you, it's the older artists that's really putting out the best music. Nothing against the young artists, not to say they ain't got good music out, but it's like the older artists are putting out the best music. It seems like they're making a comeback. You see Clips won a Grammy, yeah, they almost in their 50s. They just won their first Grammy. So what they tell you, and I'm glad J. Cole put this out. It's something that hip hop needed, and I think this album coming out now is a perfect time to show that hip hop has really never went nowhere. No, hip hop is just going back to its roots. It's going back to the bars and the beats being dope, having substance, having lyrics, having songs with meaning. It's getting its balance back. And that's what I love about this album because it's proving that, hey, older artists still can run the game. J. Cole's been in the game for a long time, but it's like older artists still run the game, and it just shows to show you like, hey, age is really not becoming a factor anymore. Maybe 10 years ago, the factor was you 41, you rapping right now. People want to hear that because you got to realize us who grew up listening to the kind of music we're getting older, so we want to hear that. So we're going to different things. Times are different, and it's a lot different for us than when our parents was adults. So now it's like we need this type of music, and It's making people feel good. It's making people realize their dreams that, hey, I ain't too old to go out here and get something new or too old to achieve that dream that I always wanted. Hey, why not? And he's proven that. Now, some might mistake this for complacency, or some might say, hey, I think he's falling out, which is cool. And I've seen mixed reviews. I've seen mixed reviews on threads that some people said some music is boring and it's not good, or I had one female I seen on threads saying, or if he wants to get in the car playing that new J. Cole, oh, I'm gonna end the date. Well, end the date then, because you're gonna end the date with me. Tell you right now, go on a date with me and I pick you up. You bumping that new J. Cole. Don't be surprised to hear some songs like the new album. I'm bumping it. I ain't changing it. So I hope you like real hip hop, because I listen to real hip hop too now. And I listen to some of the club music too, some of the new school music too. Don't get me wrong, I like that music too. I like some of it too. But hey, you in my car, you're gonna hear 90s, early 2000 raps. You're gonna hear some music with some substance. So yeah, I definitely be one of those guys that the girl through is saying like, oh, he played a new J. Cole. I'm in the date. Yeah, you definitely gonna end the date with me. Bye. You can walk on. And and it might be the question for some people that felt like maybe this album should have been him coming at people or trying to stake his claim as one of the best lyricists. But what is that to compete every time? J. Cole already pulled back. I know some people were disappointed in that, but I understand his point and his perspective of it. I mean, yeah, but why do I have to do that? What's the need of doing that? When I already proved solidified my spot, people gonna fuck with me anyway, regardless of who I go against or who I come in at. So, people want to fuck with Cole regardless, because, his real fans don't care about that. And I feel like it's not him being complacent or it's not him playing safe. I mean, it's Cole being Cole, it's Cole making the music that he want to do, is connecting with his fans like he always have. So I don't call it complacency. So I won't consider complacency. You know, it's Cole showing his fans like, hey, I'm here to connect with y'all. I ain't changed, despite the success, all the success I have, I'm still here. Clip that. Let's zoom out for a bit. Now, I'll let ask people the question in the chat. Where does this album in Cole's catalog rank for you? And if you're not watching live, you can come back later at catch the live on a replay, and you can leave your comments in the chat, and you can let me know where this album ranks in your catalog. It's no wrong or right answer. I love to hear people different opinions, and we can have a healthy debate in the comment section. If you're not the type of person like to come on the live and jump on the live with me, you can have a healthy debate in the comments, and we can go back and forth. Or I think this album better than this one, or I think it ranks here in his catalog. I love to hear your answers. It's a dope album, and I definitely think that it should have get at least one full listen, at least. You ain't gonna listen to it ever again, that's cool, but I highly recommend this album to be listened to every hip hop head out there, because it's a super dope album. And if you're a true J. Cole fan, a true hip hop fan, this is a love letter to you. I felt like you wrote a love letter to us to let us know, say, hey, I'm still here. I ain't changed much. I'm still the same J. Cole, and I still respect the game. I still respect the ones that did it before me, and that's what he showed in the Fallout. And if you don't believe me, go give the album a listen. And I think this adds to his legacy, because now it sets the bar. It sets the bar now. Every artist that wants to make an album that's memorable, now the Fall Off is going to be one of those albums that you look at and compare it to. It's going to be compared to, and you better believe that every artist that drops something after J. Cole that's in hip hop, your album's going to be compared to J. Cole's. And you better come with it. It's going to be compared to J. Cole's whether you like it or not. It's going to be compared to that, because this sets the bar. This sets the standard. This sets the standard. It's like J. Cole went to this, J. Cole went like he went hungry. He went back in Forest Hills Drive, or he's back in It's Muhammad's basement again. He's back there rapping. He's back there trying to make it. He's back out there hustling again. And I love that thing that he went around with the Honda Civic, doing the tour all across America, and his Honda Civic just driving the state to state, selling CDs out his trunk. Beautiful. Great marketing. If you ever read the book called Contagious, by Jonah Berger, you should read it. Great book. Why Things Catch On, called Contagious. Look it up. I read it before. Probably read it again. That made me think of that too. When I heard J. Cole was taking a tour in the Civic, selling CDs out his trunk, I said, that's great marketing. Word of mouth. Things like that. It talks about marketing like that too in that book. And it's an old book. Book came out 2013, but we're seeing it today. Nipsey Hussle talked about that book as well. So definitely a good read. And want to understand why I mentioned that book, just take a look at what J. Cole doing with the Honda Civic, selling the CDs out his trunk. Man, beautiful. Now some might say, what about the big three? I don't know. I don't think that's really a thing anymore, but some might still consider him part of the big three. I still consider him part of the big three, regardless if you pull out the beef or not. You said the beef was Cole, Kendrick, and Drake. I don't know. I still consider him part of that. Even though Kendrick pretty much put the ass to Drake. Drake ain't almost what he was compared to hip hop. I think he's going to pop now. But that's a whole nother conversation that we can have in another topic. But to get back to Cole, I don't really think Cole's really pushing boundaries with his brand. Or I think he's just trying to protect it. Cole is just enjoying life and enjoying something that he loved doing and enjoying connecting with his fans. So really, if anything, Cole is enhancing his brand, or if anything, Cole is making his brand more personal. I think Cole is more personal, having that personal connection with fans, going out in a Civic. You're a multi-millionaire probably by now, and you're going in a Honda Civic. Out of all cars, driving a Honda Civic, not a Mercedes-Benz, not a Lambo, not a BMW, not an Aston Martin, not a Range Rover. You're in a Honda Civic, the old Honda Civic that you had when you was in college, and you're selling CDs, going back to your roots again, selling CDs out the back of your trunk, pulling out HBCU campuses, and you're selling your CDs out the trunk, pulling out to neighborhoods, just selling your CDs out the trunk, and you're chilling with the fans like a regular person, and you're a multi-million-dollar celebrity by now, and you're having fun with the fans. That you gotta love that. To me, that's enhancing your brand. If anything, you're making your brand more personable, and people are gonna fuck with that because it's authentic. It shows authenticity. So when you're showing that, people are gonna rock with that, clip that. People love when somebody be authentic, and I think he's making his brand even more authentic than it was before, because you're taking that personal connection with fans. You're not only sending the CD out the trunk, you're signing it, taking pictures with them, talking with them, having conversations with them at the album, listening to the album with them. As the song's playing, you actually dancing with them, partying with them. It's like you're one of them. And, can't beat that. You got to respect somebody like that. You got to respect somebody like that. Who wouldn't? Like, I won't call that brand protection. I call that brand enhancement. That puts your brand top tier. If anything, it's making his brand even more top tier, because now people can look at that and say, hey, even the people that wasn't a fan of J. Cole might even change their whole demeanor and say, you know what? Maybe J. Cole is actually a dope artist, because of the simple fact that he's actually getting out in the streets. This guy's a famous rapper, don't have to get out in the streets. Don't have to. He's going out there intermingling with people, just with his friend, with his homeboys, with his entourage in the Civic. Ain't so many people can fit in the Civic. Ain't out there selling CDs out the back of his trunk. Like he's an up-and-coming rapper. And this guy's a millionaire doing this. Got a Grammy and doing this. Got multi-platinum albums doing this. Got multiple platinum albums and doing this. Come on. It's brand enhancement, Now people feel like they connect with you, people feel like you're one of them, so they're gonna connect with you. So next time you drop something, They're looking for it. And he just came out the blue with it. It's not like he announced it right away or just like did any press release or anything. He just came and said, hey, I'm gonna do it. Just come up, pull up to the block. Imagine the odds that you just riding down the street, you see J. Cole outside the school, passing out CDs, hanging out with your classmates, just sitting there talking about the album, signing autographs, taking pictures, having a conversation with people. You can't beat that. Which gets into my next segment is the internet versus reality. I see this a lot with this album. Social media might rap fast, but sometimes before people even digest the music, that's a big thing I noticed too. Of course, like as soon as this album came out, within maybe not even 4 hours of this album, you see comments on threads saying, "Man, this album's good." And you see some people say, "This is boring." For people even digest it, some people say, "Hey, I gotta give it a couple of listens to listen to it." I knew from first listen this was a great album. For my first listen, I said, "This is a great album." I just listened to it again because I want to get other perspectives, and I'm going to listen to it again, as I said before, and I'll probably get a different perspective. I might come back with a different perspective. Now, the question I want to ask you guys: do you think people listen to Cole albums to critique them instead of feel them? I'll let them know. So I'm asking the question: do you think people listen to Cole albums to critique them instead of feel them? And if you're not on the live or you're not in the live chat, you can come back on the replay and you can ask this question in the comments as well. Some people might be asleep or might be too late for them, but hey, or don't know I'm on live. Hey, come later and watch the replay and ask questions. I still talk to you. I just don't like to talk to people doing the live on doing the live chat, but you come up later, watch the live. Somebody likes to watch the replay. You can catch on later and share your thoughts in the comments. I'm asking the question again: do you think people listen to Cole albums to critique them instead of feel them? Personally, I think to answer that question, I think that people do listen to his albums just to critique them, just to have an opinion about something, or they're not listening to see if it's a good album, or they just want to share their thoughts. Be the first person to say, "Hey, I listened to J. Cole album. It's trash." Say, "Don't waste your time." It's trash. It's not good. It's boring. It's the same blah 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 blah. Same bullshit. Then you got those who listen to it to actually not to critique it, but to critique it in a word that's not biased, or not because, or they're thinking I'm not a fan of the music, so I'm going to critique it and just say I don't like it. I'm going to listen to it and then I'm going to have my critique. If it's a dope album, I'm going to say it, but if I don't like it, then I'm going to say it. But you have those who do that. But it's the power of social media nowadays. People react fast. It's a little different. When I was coming up, we didn't have a social media, so really you had to go to school to talk about it, or you could talk about it with somebody, so you had time to digest the music because you don't know who else heard it though. But as soon as the album come out midnight, within an hour, not even an hour, like 30 minutes or 45 minutes, somebody already got a status about talking about the album, and you might be halfway in, or you might just be first on in, and you see that, and you might be like, I don't know, I want to listen to this. Nowadays, you got social media so influential that it actually influence people to actually do something that they really like. And I think that's what went on, with some of the negative comment feedback I saw about this album. I think people just being influenced by others, but really they like this album. They know this album's good. They know it's not boring. They know it's for somebody that's intellectual or like to think, or people who enjoy this type of music with substance. But they don't think they'll look cool in front of their friends or their girlfriend or whoever if they say they like this if they say they like this album. But like I said, it's the influence of social media that I think a lot of times people move so fast that people don't have the time to really digest the music, or to be able to even form a valid opinion or form an honest opinion that comes with them, not from what others are saying about something, but coming from their own thoughts and their own observations. Now the final verdict of this, I say this album feels like I feel like it's mature, calm, reflective, safe. I don't feel like it's safe. I won't say the word safe, but I feel like it's calm, reflective, and consistent. J. Cole consistently proving that he's one of the best lyricists of all time, and he still got it. And really, he didn't fall off. It's almost like he's trolling in a way. He's trolling those people that off the critique his music as born and show like, oh, I'm gonna name my final album, potentially my final studio album, to fall off, just to make you think I fall off, and I'm gonna rap my ass off like the renters do, and all my real fans and all the real hip hop fans is gonna enjoy the album. I'm gonna show you just how much my music knowledge is, and just how much bars I got, at, just how much work I put into this. I'm gonna go back to my roots and rap like I ain't never made it, which he has. And to me, I think this is one of his greatest works. That's the final verdict for me. And I don't want to call it playing it safe or falling off. I just call it enhancing and just expanding his legacy. He just cemented another great album in his legacy. And hopefully we can get another one. I'm not sure. They women going around and saying this is supposed to be his last album. I really hope not. I really hope maybe we get a fall off too, or we ready to get something else. I don't know what's next. Cole releases albums every 2 years. So maybe we get another solo studio album, or we may not. We might never not. But all I know is the Fallout is his greatest work, and I'm going to stand on it down until I know it just came out. But if you don't agree with me, you can hit up in the comments and tell me why, debate me. Do a healthy debate. Don't come disrespectful, because you come disrespectful, I'm going to come back at you disrespectful. Just let you know. But if you think it's not the best album, then, drop in the comment section and let me know. Click that. So I appreciate you guys tuning in, tapping in. If you missed the live, you can catch the replay. I'm going to upload it right after this. I'm Loretta's only. Live Talks with Lowe's every Wednesday. Same time and place, unless I say otherwise. I'll let you know next week what will be my topic. But for now, enjoy this topic. Watch the replay. Leave in the comments on what your thoughts are. Share me some of your favorite songs. Or maybe even share a thought about a topic that you want to talk about with me. Let me know, and I got to do this. Before I end every show, I always tell people, if you want to be a guest on Live Talks with Lowe, you can contact me at this email to be a guest on Live Talks with Lowe, lorettasonly1@gmail.com. I'm going to leave this up here for a little bit, and then I'm going to head out. And just to let you know, you don't have to be an artist or you have to be in the music industry. You could be an entrepreneur or anybody who just have a dope topic that you think the world needs to hear about. And I'll bring you up and talk about it. I talk sports too. I like to do a basketball topic too. So anybody out there is watching the audience that likes to talk about basketball, we can talk about that too. You see, I got my Heat hat on. I'm a Heat fan. So, let you get that email, send me your bio, send me a picture that you like to use in the bio and tell me what you do. And if I like what you're doing, I have you as a guest on Live Talks with Lowe. So I'm going to get out of here. Y'all be blessed. Peace. Make sure you go check out the Fallout. And also, don't forget to like and subscribe. Appreciate you for rocking with me. Y'all be blessed out there. Peace.